Live, and feeling live. Oh, it happened. It worked. Beautiful. So I haven't been live in a few days. I keep starting saying I haven't been live in a few days. I was really hoping to like get this week going pretty hard given like kind of like, I just finished up a contract recently, so I was like, "Oh, I'm super excited to stream this week." But two things happened. One, I have this like bug bite slash rash on my back that's like not really healing and causing me a lot of stress, because it just like keeps hurt. Yo, Katuno, what's up? How's it going? um and I also downloaded World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King, so I've been playing a lot of Wrath of the Lich King Classic. I have a level 70 shaman that I boosted, and that's taking up an inordinate amount of my time, as I knew it would. Like, I knew I was going to play World of Warcraft when it came out or when it was announced. Um, but yeah, I didn't expect myself to fall back into the habits that I had 15 years ago now, right? Or 14 years ago, whenever the original came out. But it's nice to see that that game still has pretty much the exact same hold on me that it did when I was a wee lad. I think this time I have a little bit more nuance, though. I know kind of what my goals are. First streamer I put notice on. Oh, yo, what's up tomorrow? Thank you for that, by the way. That's awesome. Thank you for putting notifications on. That makes me really happy. Um, yeah, I've been talking about how the last couple of days I've been a complete World of Warcraft addict, and I figured that I should probably try and go live today and do some Obsidian stuff, because I've had some pretty interesting stuff that I wanted to talk about on stream in terms of like how to maybe not do a new branch of like Obsidian research, but I think that there is a interesting kind of like thing that we've been seeing build in the PKM space, and I want to take some time to talk about like maybe how research could be conducted going forward with technologies like these. And also, thank you again for putting notifications on. I really appreciate it. It's a very small stream. I don't have any special treats or anything like that. So I wish I had like sub alerts and stuff. Um so the first thing that I want to talk about, I actually did spend some time earlier this week setting up a WebSocket scene switcher, which I think is pretty cool. So, or let me say that this is an Alfred scene switcher. So one thing that's like kind of annoying about streaming is, if anyone's ever streamed before, is that you have to do a lot of like stream swapping. Basically, you have to do a lot of scene swapping or stream swapping. I don't know which one is technically correct. But basically what'll happen, right, is that I will switch between these scenes every time I need to switch to like VSC or like the BRB screen, or I have some set up for Chrome and Obsidian and Visual Studio Code and Chrome, right? So like different windows can occupy the same space at the same time. There's a difference between window capture and display capture in OBS as well, where window capture allows you to just capture a particular window, but that has trade-offs because display capture sometimes doesn't capture the whole screen resolution and everything like that too. So this is pretty interesting, right? Because like I had been setting it up with hotkeys initially to move through these. So let me show the hotkeys that I was using. Take a picture of this too. Paste this in here. So we can see here that like, if I can get the, yeah, there we go. That you can set up like hotkeys for all of these scene switches here. But like the problem is that like the hotkeys sometimes just wouldn't work, right? So I had to do like this weird workaround in Alfred where I would, if OBS was focused on the window, then Alfred would notice that the Alt-7 hotkey, which applies to OBS, should also trigger the Moom application, which I discussed before in a previous stream, which switches keyboard outputs. And I was like, there has to be an easier way of doing this. Like this is really convoluted. It involves a lot of steps of like kind of like, if OBS isn't running, then do this, then don't do that. And then I found a library that does this. So I'm actually going to launch my thing right now. Hold on. I just switched to the same screen because I'm dumb like that. So you just saw it switch to Chrome. Easy breezy, lemon squeezy. But the way that I'm doing that is by using a library called Obs Websocket Js. Let's go to the GitHub repo. So Obs WebSocket is basically a way to call OBS directly through a WebSocket when it's on, which is pretty interesting, right? Because OBS is like a full studio, but when you use this, you can basically control the app from a server that you're running locally on your computer. So what that looks like is that in my settings window, I'll take a picture of that and then show that too. And now watch this. This part's going to get really cool. So I also have keybinds that will allow me to automatically switch to both Obsidian and Chrome at the same time, which is super pog. The hella poggers. Now let me see if I can get the Finder open. So we can see that there's this OBS WebSocket settings. What is this menu option here? And in this menu option for this plugin that you have to download, you can set up a port authenticator. So basically what happens is that like I have now like a server and a password, and I'm trying to figure out what I can show without it doxing things. But basically what it allows me to do is it allows me to set up an OBS WebSocket and call this server with a server password on my local using my IP address, and then automatically, again, call OBS to do something. So now, for example, if I hit JV on Alfred, which is my just via C code, it automatically checks if OBS is open and then switches to Visual Studio Code. And we can actually see this running here. So we can see that I'll take a picture of the actual terminal call here too. But basically what's happening behind the scenes is that there's this terminal call that literally spawns a bajillion terminal calls because it happens every single time I switch a screen, which is kind of annoying. But basically, I'm doing a few things. So I'm importing OBS WebSocket, Express as the server, and using .env to get a environment variables, particularly the password that I'm using. So then we connect to our OBS WebSocket using this OBS WebSocket class. And this, I guess, does something with C under the hood. I'm not exactly sure. I've used WebSockets a few times, but it's been a while since I've done anything revolving WebSockets. I was like using WebSockets for like real-time games when I was doing some code for that. So we call this OBS connect method, add our WebSocket with our IP address for our local host, and then the port that we passed in, which is 4444. And then we use the OBS password, which is also an environment variable. It connects to the server, which we can see here at the bottom, this Innet WebSocket connected to 5.0.1, which is the version of the OBS WebSocket. And now here's the cool part. It's really only one API call. And I actually wrote most of this with GitHub Copilot. So I didn't really have to do much of anything. I just kind of like hit the one button and then the other button, and then I kind of connected them together, and it just kind of worked. And now I can, again, switch back and forth like super fast between scenes without having to break my train of thought. So basically this app.getScene function here is an express function that takes in a scene name, and then it sets the scene to the OBS scene name, and then basically sends that as a response to the server, and that's it. That's like pretty much all you need, because basically this set scene function here calls the OBS call set current program scene to the scene name. So if the scene name exists in the OBS scenes tab, which we saw before, right? We saw the scenes over here. So like I am using the scene Obsidian, scene Chrome Obsidian, starting soon, BRB, VSC, transparent for the slideshows, VSC Chrome. All these different scenes allow me to jump between them with the Alfred key commands, if that makes sense, right? So this Alfred key command is automatically switching the OBS scenes. And I think this is a really big deal for programming streamers in particular, because I think for like gaming streamers, like if you're playing like Fallout or Fall Guys or Elden Ring for like 12 hours, you're not doing much scene swapping. But I think if you're a programmer, scene swapping is kind of something that you'll be doing a lot, because you'll need to use, for example, let's say that you are coding on a local host server, right? So what you'll want to do is you'll want to type in, you'll want VSC and Chrome to be in the same window. So being able to automatically get VSC and Chrome in the same window so that your viewers can see what you see on both the Chrome tab over here and the Visual Studio Code, um, saves a bunch of time. And I've noticed that this is something that I was like kind of always bummed about is like I would be on a train of thought, or I'd kind of be on a roll, and then I would want to switch applications to Obsidian or Chrome, or I'd want to like jump just to Obsidian, or I want something like this, or I'd want to like switch just to being me, and then, you know, back and forth and back and forth. So being able to just jump between them at the uh not even click of a button, automatically, programmatically, is definitely a huge up. So very happy that this exists. I published it on GitHub, I think, but I don't remember what I named the repo, so I'll have to go and find that and put it in the stream. I also added a Twitch chat to the stream. I hope it works. I don't know. Actually, I'm just gonna test. Real quick. I'm gonna be like, test what up at tomorrow. Oh, it does work. It's very small, but it works. Yeah, you see it? I just scaled it up. I don't know how to make it bigger without making it bigger, if that makes sense. Because that's kind of interesting. So, yeah. Is that like super small? Because like on OBS it looks super small. I can't even really read that. How do you make the font bigger? Maybe if I do scaling or something? Properties. And it's gone. Whatever. Problem for another day. So that was the first thing that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about this scene switcher, because I think it was actually not that hard to set up. I think that there is a lot of really cool things that you can do with the WebSocket. I have a number of ideas that I want to do, also maybe involving Twitch chat in the future, so that like Twitch chat will be able to um, call a server, which will call a WebSocket, which will call OBS to do something, which can cause a whole bunch of interesting kind of things, right? So you could have Twitch chat interact with Obsidian and stuff like that in Visual Studio Code by using this WebSocket, which can fire off different things from different things. But the main thing is that it just saves so much time in terms of clicking. Oh, I guess I did want to show the Alfred preferences for how to make that work. So the terminal call that I see, I've seen some people do some crazy interactions with OBS WebSocket. Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff that I think can be done, and it's just it definitely opens up the whole field to just some really cool stuff. Here's the terminal call, BTW. So you can see that when I'm calling the local host from Alfred, it's actually calling it in the local host, switching the scene name to Chrome Obsidian, for example, to switch to Chrome and Obsidian for my local host, which is really cool. And I wanted to show the Alfred preferences actually too. Let's see if we go to Moom, and then we go It's going to look kind of crazy, but this is kind of what I actually, I literally just stayed up one night and I just like kind of just went hard trying to figure out this key command here. But basically what's happening is that I'm going to take pictures of everything so I don't have to come back to this. I don't think I need that. One. And 2. And I'm like literally just dragging these over from my Finder into this folder. And a 3. So basically, I have an Alfred command that every time I hit like JV, for example, which from my screen is just Visual Studio Code, it will fire off this command and fire off the key command Alt-Shift-J, which fires off Moom, which I have mentioned in my YouTube in a previous video of how to use Moom and OBS together to do something or the other, and Alfred. Then it calls this JavaScript, which I'll just show in a second, to trim the white space of a character. And then if OBS is open, spoiler alert, it'll run the command. So what does this JavaScript do? It does exactly what it's an Apple script that basically just says, is OBS running or not? So one of the things that I wanted to happen is that I actually use these Alfred commands a lot, even when I'm offline, just because I like hot switching between different applications really easily. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't have it call the localhost script every time that OBS wasn't open. So I did the set app name to OBS. If application is running, then return running. If not running, end the if. And that's cool because basically every time OBS is running, it'll actually go through and finish what it says it does. I think I have it like basically just not doing this else. So I'm assuming that it does nothing. Maybe it does something behind the hood and isn't eating memory, but I hope not. And then basically I curl the local host with the scene name and that's it. So it's like, it's really cool. And it just works. I'm very happy because the hotkey thing just kept breaking. And I spent a lot of time getting those hotkeys set up the way that I wanted to, because I had to do the same thing with Alfred, but kind of backwards. So I would like say like, okay, listen for OBS to do this thing. And when OBS does this thing, then do another thing. But that was a pain in the ass because like generally OBS just like wasn't passing the data to Alfred that it needed to. So this one is just much more functional because basically it's just saying like, hey, if this server is up, I'm going to curl it, right? And if that server is up, then that means that the OBS WebSocket is up. And if OBS WebSocket is up, that means that it switches the scene. So all in all, very successful project, very fast. One of those things that got completed in like a day or two. Very happy with how it turned out. And I think that is very helpful. So that was the OBS WebSocket Alfred scene switcher. The next topic. So this is going to be the meat of this stream here. I want to talk about research. So last time I did a research project on stream was this base 10 base 2 tutorial. So basically this base 10 base 2 tutorial involved the end goal was to create a slideshow that was both engaging and entertaining for users, but also teaching us some pretty cool things about like different things that people might not have known, you know what I mean? And basically making edutainment. It's just edutainment. And I took a lot of notes, but they're all kind of like all over the place, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that's kind of like there's no real like structure here. And I think that one of the failings of this project was that it did lack a kind of structure for the different research that was happening. Like the expectations were kind of all over the place. I really liked the natural feeling to it. It felt like it was a very organic learning process, and I definitely want to do more of that on stream. I think like as you see in the stream description for this channel, PKM in action is a big part of what this stream stands for. So the idea is to basically help myself and people who watch this stream be cool at parties because we can talk about cool facts and we can make cool stuff, right? So those are the two main goals of this stream, is to be able to make anything that we want to with code and to understand anything that we want to with PKM. So I want to add a little bit more structure. So there's a kind of like more realistic boundary on where a project starts and where a project ends, because I think that that'll do the favor of kind of like making the whole process a little bit more engaging and open to kind of like saying like, okay, this is where it like kind of like the train stops, so you can play around in the area more. In art, a lot of people talk about how important it is to use constraints to actually inform your artwork. And I really do agree with that. I think that art is actually kind of harder to do when you have a full freedom. And if you have some limits, it basically gives you a starting point, right? So, like I said, I work with a lot of stuff with like OpenAI, and there, one of the positive externalities that I saw from GPT-3 very early on was that it kind of serves as a writing blockbuster, because it just writes something, right? Like usually you just need something on paper to get started to help you get to the next move, right? You need to see the board state to make a move, basically, if it were chess. And my argument is that I think that for this PKM thing to work really well, we're going to need some kind of structure to work off of. So let me describe what I think that this structure looks like. So let's make a new note here. And let's get it out of projects. So let's move this to home. Where's the move at? Oh, it's right here. Okay, so let's move it to the home folder. I literally just clicked it in OBS because I'm ridiculous. So I had an idea of saying like, I don't know if I'm going to stick with this name, but I wanted something that was kind of like cute and fun, but also accurate. So like, let's get to the bottom of this, is I feel like a pretty good stream idea about like, when you come up in a new concept Socratically, like for example, what was the first time that somebody wrote hags in a yearbook? Or like, what is the origin of floss and flossers? Or like, why is the Capri Sun in a pouch, right? Like these are questions that may have a satisfying answer or an unsatisfying answer, but you should be able to get to the quote unquote bottom of this. So let me kind of like write down this stuff. So let's say that like let's start with just a bulleted list. So we'll say that we have an unanswered question or curiosity. I don't know how to spell curiosity. Curiosity. That didn't work. And then our end state is to have an answer or a solution. So far on this stream, an answer has been like understanding why Leibniz is related to the computers of today and TikTok, right? Talking about the I Ching, that's more of like a story-based narrative answer. A solution is like the embedded search app, right? Where we have an unanswered curiosity about like, hey, how do we search thousands of files if we don't remember the exact title? So that's like a solution, and that's a curiosity. And now, that's generally the end of either of these. So an answer or a solution, I would argue that a solution is more programmatic and an answer is more just kind of emblematic of giving you an answer to a question. Again, it's kind of like you can imagine using it at like cocktail parties and stuff like that. So I think that in general, I want like 3 to 5 quality references per piece. And for the end, let's talk about the end for the answer first, because then we can talk about the solution. So I think for the end for the answer, it's going to be like a roughly 10-minute video. I think that this 10-minute video thing is kind of the sweet spot, where you can kind of get across enough information to make a point, but it's not too long that people will fall asleep or kind of whatever. So I think 10 minutes is like a pretty good sweet spot. Um, yeah, and then let's say that the solution is kind of like a GitHub repo. But we're going to be mainly focusing on the answer instead of the solution. But yeah, so I'd say 3 to 5 quality references per piece is like a pretty good place to start, where you want to have, I think you want to have some kind of surprising or non-intuitive finding. Surprising. So you want to, yes, have some kind of surprising or non-intuitive finding. I think that makes this a lot more worth it as a process. You want to have like a local graph. So again, because we're in Obsidian, remember, we're building these graphs of knowledge. So I think that having a local graph that's just about, for example, like Leibniz here. So everything I can see for Leibniz is in this graph here. Or if we talk about like embeddings or something like that, then we see everything that has to deal with like the embeddings nodes, right? So I think like having one of those graphs is super helpful too at the end of the day. And now I got to get back to my note. So having some kind of local graph that people can kind of see the boundaries of your argument. I feel like, reading stuff on the internet is interesting because like, everybody talks about how we have the Library of Alexandria at our fingertips, and there's never been an easier time to learn in human knowledge. And I think that broadly speaking, that is indeed the case. I would say that one of the problems with the internet, though, is that the information boundaries are very noisy. So you never know if you're like looking at something that is well verified by leaders in a field, or if something is just someone made up and just said whatever the hell they felt like saying. And I think that by having a local graph, you have a very visual representation of the boundaries of your argument. So if like an expert comes in and is like, oh, well, this person missed X, Y, Z, whatever, I've been studying it for 15 years, right? They could actually literally see the graph and say, oh, well, that's not their fault. This is the edges. This is the edges of the boundary of the whole thesis, right? But for a brand new person who has never been introduced to a topic, they can also just jump into this local graph and not feel overwhelmed by it, as opposed to kind of talking to like an expert. So I think that this boundaries of your argument thing is actually really important for successful, not only just like knowledge management of your own personal graph, but knowledge management in terms of managing other people's expectations about what they'll be learning from you, right? Because again, a big kind of part of, I think, educating on the internet is that it is inherently linked with entertainment, and that's an important aspect to remember. So like tuning into this stream, tuning into a PewDiePie video, tuning into a Mr. Beast video, tuning into like a Neil deGrasse Tyson, whatever, like anyone who's trying to teach you something or entertain you has to do a little bit of both. They have to be able to do some stuff that's kind of just like neat and engaging, and they also need to be able to answer solve a problem, or like again fulfill a curiosity. So what else? So we got the boundaries of our argument in our local graph. There was another thing that I was thinking of that I totally lost my train of thought on when I went on that huge rant about local graphs. Oh yeah, taking advantage of Obsidian rabbit holes. So I think that, one of the big benefits of Obsidian is that it's really easy to just do this and just do this, and then this becomes a new page, right? So now this is a page that I could just click and it'll just create a brand new page from here. So this means that you can theoretically go infinite, right? Like not only if you make this page and then you link back to the let's get the bottom of this, you could go recursive, right? So I like this because I find that knowledge is very much the same way, where things don't really end again, right? Like they just have boundaries, right? There's no necessarily end or start to the Leibniz project that I was just talking about. You could literally spend years just studying everything that Leibniz did in Europe at the time in terms of like the socio-political state and what happened with calculus. And then you can think about how calculus affected the 19th century and steamships, and talk about how that affected World War II. Like everything is kind of connected in that way. So you can go down rabbit holes that lead to rabbit holes that lead to rabbit holes. And I don't really think that that's like a great use of time unless you know what you're doing. And unless I think that your rabbit hole adds to the thesis that you're trying to solve or something interesting. So let's say that unless it's like super interesting or super important to the end answer slash goal slash solution. So these things I think are the beginnings of kind of like how I'm kind of drafting this in my head, is that, you know, we start off with just a fun question that we're trying to answer. And again, like I said, I think that one of my big goals for this stream is not only just to get people to use Obsidian and to code and just to have more fun. I want people to like kind of like, because I want to learn things, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that I just didn't have necessarily time to learn on my own. And I was like, oh man, it would be really great to expedite the process of learning so that you feel satisfied by what you're learning, but you don't necessarily feel, I don't know, stressed by it, if that makes sense. Because like if you're studying for an exam, for example, for school, you're going to feel stressed because you're like, oh, if I don't perform well, then I have a bunch of other consequences that are going to occur that are negative. But like if I'm just learning something for fun, when do I stop? You know? So there has to be like some kind of middle ground. And then, you know, this 3 to 5 quality references per piece, I think this is kind of, again, given the format of the answer being locked up in about a 10-minute video, I think that, again, you could continue to find quality pieces. And the idea of quality is different. And like, honestly, as a beginner, because you're asking a question, you won't understand quality versus not quality, but you just kind of have to try your best. I think that's it's partially trust based, it's partially intuition, and it's partially, I guess, kind of like logical fallacies that the article might be referencing or the video or something like that. Not that this is becoming a React channel, but I'm going to be doing more reading and like more reading on stream and talking about why I think certain pieces are good and why pieces are bad. And I think that that's helpful for a lot of aspects of life, not only just by becoming a little bit more well-rounded educationally, but also being able to suss out bullshit in human conversation and stuff like that. So, yep, some kind of surprising or non-intuitive finding. I think that this is basically, in other words, a hook. A local graph that shows the boundaries of an argument. Again, because this repo is hosted publicly on GitHub, you know, people will literally be able to see where these things begin and end, and then taking advantage of the rabbit holes to see what's super interesting or super important to the end answer solution, or maybe just finding, like just discovering new paths. Because it won't, you know, on that first Google search or that first kind of like asking of the library or whatever, it won't always be the end thing that you're going to be looking at. So being able to understand like what path you're looking at through the rabbit hole, if that makes sense. That doesn't really make sense. I'll talk about how I think about this in a second. So let's talk about the structure. So I think that the structure is going to be really important to the success of this project. So I'm going to call it like, it's kind of going to be like a nested folder structure. So let's say that the root folder is like the question. or curiosity. The I literally just can't spell curiosity. Oh my god, it just ate the whole thing. Question or curiosity. Okay, whatever. So the question or curiosity, and then inside of it, we'll have our references folder. And a reference will look something along the lines of, I'm trying to figure out how to like what a reference is. So like a reference will contain a name, a URL, basically like I'll put this all together as like citation information. So a reference will have citation information. It will also have, quotes extracted, I guess, quotes and details extracted. You can think of this as kind of like if you've ever seen people pull out graphs from things that they quote a lot, where they're like, oh, my graph shows me that that more the correlation graphs, for example, where it's like every time that somebody eats ice cream, somebody drowns. Right, like so like you can that you can pull data from somebody else's work, or you can pull quotes from their work, and I think that those are the main two things that you can get from their work, and you can combine it to retrieve insight. So like, for example, you'll be maybe watching this stream, but then you'll be cross-referencing it with like information that you learned earlier in the day from your boss, or you might have picked up from a friend or a partner or from a book or something like that. And then you'll be able to use that why can't I say this? Cross referencing to create a brand new insight that you can then use and reshare or develop and work on in private or whatever. I'm of the belief that all knowledge kind of falls under that category of basically just cross pollination of knowledge. So like you'll have like an idea, and an idea will relate to another idea, and then that idea will breed a brand new idea that like creates a new thing that people jump off of. So each reference has the citation information, the quotes and details extracted, and I think that that's pretty good. Let's say that we want to have, maybe we can say that we can have the notes section, notes and insights. So let's say that an insight is exactly what we just said it is. It's the novel and unique. I wouldn't say unique is the right word, but like the novel thoughts and output. Yeah, I think that that's probably closest, right? So you'll have your like novel thoughts and output, which is like an insight about something. So you'll be like, oh, well, when I was thinking about, what this person said, and then I was thinking about like, eating hot pockets earlier or some shit. Like I was able to come up with like a novel idea about how hot pockets should be in the microwave longer or shorter because of whatever. So we have our question or curiosity, we have our references, we have our notes and insight. I think we have our presentation. Again, on this show, on this, I wonder if I switch scenes, if it will just work. It does. The slideshow up in the top left corner of the screen is like a presentation mode. I don't even know why it's still working. I thought that this, I was pretty sure that this, that this browser was down, but apparently it's still up, and you can can I still move the slides? Yeah, you can. That's crazy. So anyway, so this is kind of like what the presentations look like, right? Like I'll be able to talk through the different insights basically, and like the references and stuff like that too. So that's, pretty cool, I suppose. So that's going to be a slideshow. And then, oh, this is another thing I wanted. I wanted like a dashboard. And I don't really know the best way of doing this. I know that there's like a few Obsidian plugins that I've been using on my personal vault. And I think I'll download one right now to show, called folder notes. So this is going to be, it's going to say that all of these need to be updated. Oh, no, just this one. No. And this one. I don't really use that one, so I don't need to update it. This one. This one. And this one. And this one. And this one. Research, discovery, big text block warning. Thank you for the warning. Research, discovery, and documenting is the most important part of learning for me. And I've only fully internalized that recently. All throughout uni, I would just do the reading problem sets, but I rarely went out on my own to learn more and expand on the topics. I don't know if other people had that issue, but that's my biggest motivator for self-studying now, to install better habits that I actually use in my brain. No, I completely agree with this, actually. I think that being able to know where like schoolwork ends and self-studying begins is something that we haven't really been taught at school, because it's not something that really makes sense for a school to teach, right? Because they're just trying to teach you that first part, right? They're just trying to teach you, they want to make sure that you get out there with the knowledge that they promised that they would teach you for the parents, or for the particular job, or whatever, right? But being able to learn more and expand on the topics, and, kind of like chase your curiosity, I think is an interesting kind of thing, because it involves more of an open mind. I think it involves a lot of, I think one of the ideas of setting up this structure isn't to like add like a limiter. It's to kind of like hopefully give people a jumping off point to maybe say like, oh, well, maybe I'm not that curious about this problem and I should just drop it, right? Because there's a lot of problems, books, stuff like that, where you need intrinsic motivation to get you through the problem, right? Like you'll never really reach the bottom of the curiosity hole. So being able to think about it in a way where you're like, oh yeah, no, this is something I'm super excited about. This is like something I've wanted to build. This is something that I've wanted to research. This is something that I wanted to write. I've been in those situations all the time, and I find that, yeah, you need to be able to have curiosity and find motivation. And motivation is a very perishable good, right? Like if you don't capitalize on it, I think motivation is interesting, because you'll find that like, hold on, let me see. Motivation comes from work quote. So there's a quote about motivation that I really liked, about writing. Motivation, writing strikes from the hours of all right, hold up. Get to use this OBS WebSocket. Let's go. So this quote, I thought about this one when you said that tomorrow. I write only when inspiration strikes. Fortunately, it strikes at 9 every morning. So this is what I think about when I think about motivation, is that it is a perishable good, but you can also force it to exist. Funnily enough, I have like on my desk here, I've been facing some anxiety with going live, and I've been like, it's much easier just to do it, right? Like if you just go live and you just talk for an hour, maybe something cool will happen, maybe nothing will happen. Like you and I have really great conversations, and I'm super thankful for that. But there's also just a lot of anxiety of like, oh man, I don't have anything to talk about today. Like, I don't know if I have the motivation or for whatever, and I should just keep playing World of Warcraft. I'm going to read what you said now. Sorry. Agreed that structure is so important. At least for me, having structure has really helped me stay interested in things. I feel like I have the motivation to learn, but I would always get overwhelmed with having too much to learn. I just wasn't organized. No, that's totally true. And honestly, I think that in our day and age, you make yourself not only more valuable as an employee, but you just become a more interesting person when you can arrange knowledge in such a way that people will think that you're smart. I've thought a lot about this because I didn't really read books when I was growing up, but then I started reading a lot more books as an adult, and people were like, "Oh my God, you're so smart!" Blah 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 blah. And it's not that I was smarter; it was just that I had more information. Right? Like information is something that you can actually stockpile, but then when you just stockpile information and you don't actually take the extra step to conjoin it to other bits of information, then it's just not helpful, right? It's not helpful to anybody, and people will be like, "Oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just spouting off random bullshit facts about koalas and gas stations." Right? Like that's not really helpful. But if you can like have some kind of novel insight because you have a structure in your brain that is reliable. And I think actually I literally just had a video go up about this today that was saying building a second brain that you can trust. And I think you were in the chat when we were discussing that last time too, where it's like you want to build a structure that's for you and helps you feel like you can be the smartest person that you can be. Right. So a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about is kind of just my own learnings from this kind of experience too. And the stuff that'll work for me in this stream might not fully work for you, but I think that the process of being able to find what works for you is just such a good journey for any human who wants to do novel research, to be involved with. And novel research doesn't mean that you have to be a scientist. Don't get me wrong. It definitely helps if you want to be a scientist, but I think that it's just the science of life. It's the science of your relationships. It's the science of your travels. It's the science of your finances. It's the science of your the things that you do for fun, right? So like if you can really kind of like impose a structure that you trust and makes you a faster and better person and researcher, then you'll just get better outcome, which is tight. um okay, so now we have our question or curiosity, we have our references, we have our notes and insights, we have our presentation, and we have our dashboard. And I think our dashboard is kind of like a homepage readme high level. So basically, the dashboard's purpose is to kind of serve as like the links to everything else. It's also the readme. So you could actually, this dashboard could be this question or curiosity, right? So we can probably actually just say that the dashboard is this, I guess. Maybe I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Because okay, I was going to show you this plugin that I was thinking of in particular. So this is a cool plugin. So there's a plugin called Folder Note, which adds a description note to a folder. So I've been using like readmes for the longest, and they're like okay, but like they work really well because I'm like on GitHub, for example, but they don't really kind of like sync with the rest of the folder. So you can combine Folder Note with I think it's table of contents, dynamic table of contents. Is this it? Um, Wait, hold up. I need to find hmm, the plugin that I'm talking about. I have to look at my original Folder Note, metadata extractor, note refactor, outliner, pod notes, recent files, waypoint. Waypoint. I think it's waypoint. Nice. So watch this. So like basically let's like create a new folder and let's call it so maybe let's say that the question or curiosity is the name of the name of the question, but it's also the dashboard. So this is also the dashboard, and I'll show you what that means in a second. So let's say that we have a new folder here called let's get to the bottom of this. So right now I'm going to right click on this folder, or actually I'm going to control click this folder, and it's going to make an overview. And it's also going to put a card in here, which I don't want. Basically, this card will show you everything that's in here. It works really cool for like image things, but I'm not really doing a lot of image things right now. So then we'll do the %% here, and we'll type in waypoint. And that replaces this with this begin and end waypoint. And basically now what we can do is we can take this folder, or this file, let's rename it to structure. And then let's put it inside this folder. And then when we go back to the folder thing, we can see the file right here, which is awesome. But we're going to one up this, right? Because we said that this structure already has this dashboard for the question name curiosity. We have references, notes and insights, and presentation, right? So this, for this V1, we're going to have a folder inside of here that says insights. I'm definitely going to spell that right. And then that's going to be a structure, right? Because that's something that we created here with the structure. And then I'm going to up it even one more. This feels like a like I'm like Goku, and it's like taking it to another level beyond. So like I'll make this a tag. Actually, I don't think I need to do that, right? Because it's already in this waypoint. So now if I go to the graph view and then go to path, I think I can do path. Let's get to the bottom of this. We can see our, let's get to the bottom of this, and the structure file already connected to each other. So this is the local graph. And I'm wondering now if I can copy this graph. I know there's like a way to do that, but I don't know how to do it. Maybe it's like a data view thing. Anyway, so we can say like that we'll have like the question. I don't know if question or curiosity is better. I think they both kind of serve the same purpose for now, but they do mean subtly different things. I think curiosity is a little bit more open-ended and a little bit less like kind of like, you know, goal-oriented, which is sometimes like, it depends on what you're trying to do. I think because we have a goal, we actually need a finish thing. So like I think that for our purposes, having question instead of goal makes more sense. So then we're going to say folder, then we're going to say references, and then did I spell that right? References, whatever. And then we're going to have another folder for presentation. You can see that they automatically show up in the waypoint, which is cool. So what was our initial question? Our initial question was, can we set up a structure and templates that make researching easy, fun, and enjoyable? Now here's the thing that I don't know. I don't know if Templater can do folders. Obsidian Templater folders. Okay, JC. Actually, we're going to do OXC. So, for example, with our references here, we were talking about that this is one of our references. So we can say that we have a new note. This is really going a lot faster than I thought it was. I'm very happy. I was thinking I was going to get a lot more stuck, and I'm not that stuck. So this is cool. So now I can just take this title and make this the thing. So this will be like the source here, right? So this is like our source for this file. Okay, so settings, templates, folder location. Oh, no. I think that I want it to create a folder. Use templates for directories. Oh man, so they're doing some Python stuff. This might be another project. But I had to figure out how to do that. If you do your daily note as a templater, path Python list directory is file, seems a little bit over the moon for what I'm looking for. Yeah, yeah, so that might not be possible, at least in the immediate term. I'd have to think about maybe the fast way of doing that. I'm pretty sure I could come up with something, but I don't want to overthink about it just now. So can we set up a structure and templates that make researching easy, fun, and enjoyable? The desired output is a roughly 10-minute edutainment style video on a concept. Again, I think that, I obviously am biased towards programming, but I've watched a lot of YouTube and I've been like thinking about like what makes a good YouTube video and what makes a bad YouTube video, given the constraints of me not really wanting to become a YouTuber and edit like crazy, but being able to set the constraint of saying like, oh, this is going to be edutainment and people are going to learn something and it's going to be kind of fun and enjoyable the whole way through, is helpful. So the presentation will contain, as a matter of fact, hold on, let me go to the structure thing. So this presentation will contain a slideshow. It'll also contain drawings, animations, etc. Perhaps a bullet point draft can also show up in the presentations. And it'll basically be a distillation of what happens in the notes and insights and the references. So I think this looks pretty good. I think I want to like set up a few templates maybe for like reference, for example, and this notes and insights. So let's go to our templates folder. So let's like pin this file with command period, make a new note in our template folder, and let's call this a reference template. And then let's say that we say that the reference template has a title, it has a source, and it has quotes, images, data, etc. Maybe like just quotes. Quotes. Okay, let's separate these. Quotes, images, data. Yeah. Yeah, no, that looks good. Very simple, very straightforward. Then let's say that we have a notes and insights template. So let's make a insight template. And then we can link the references. We can backlink the references list. And then we can say like what the novel idea is. And those are pretty much the only two things, I think, right? Because you have like a novel idea, like what if jelly was like pear flavored or something, right? Like or something. And then like that involves you knowing a few things, and then also your references might be inside or outside the scope. And then this actually also leads to the question of like open research or let's say open questions. Which you want this to probably be empty by the time that you're done and have the novel idea be fully fleshed out. And this novel idea will have, so maybe I can make a call out. I don't know if I have admonition installed. I don't. Admonition by Jeremy Valentine. Enable. So if I go to AD note here. Yes. And then let's say that this is an insight is a novel thought. Here is the space to use to convert open questions into answers with references, and to create rabbit holes. So an insight node is a novel thought. Here's the space to convert open questions into answers and create rabbit holes, as well as use creativity. What is an insight? I don't know if this works. Does that work? No, it didn't. How do you do titles? Admonition. How do you do titles, bruh? Bruh. AD note. AD type. Oh. Title. Hashtag. Admonition title. Okay. So I think I do this. And then, oh, this is definitely, my guy is in the way. My screen's in the way. Move this down here. So I'll just do title, and then I get rid of the quotes. Perfect. What is an insight? And then we can do the same thing for references here, where we're going to have I'm just going to do this easier. AD note here with the title. What is a reference? And then a reference is an external source of knowledge that is pulled from to enhance thesis and find supporting or detracting evidence. Nice. And now here's where this template stuff is going to get real goddamn ratchet. So I said I wanted like 3 to 5 references. I probably want, I don't know how many novel insights, because they can at least one, right? But like otherwise you're just kind of like summarizing what you find on the internet. So like maybe like you should probably have as many novel insights as you do references, because that means that you get at least one novel insight per reference, and then that doubles the content idea. So like basically we want to have now a folder note template, and you should start to see where this is going, because we're going to be leveraging the templater thing from the template list wrapper. And it's going to get real cool, real crazy, real awesome. So we're going to say that we have our, I think I don't want it to actually do the waypoint. I think that would break it, but I'll try it. Yeah. Maybe that'll work like it later. I don't know. So let's say that we have our, this is our directory. This is our question. As our question comes first. And then we have our references and insights. And then we have like insight, reference 1. And then that's going to be the template file include for the reference template. And then we're basically just going to copy this mark down here. And I'm going to move my head up. Oh, whoa, not the whole thing. Move my head up here. And then we're going to, I guess we didn't copy it. Oh, damn it. Boom. Boom. So, like I said, I want at least 3. So I'll just leave it at 3 because that's fine. And then for the insights, I'm going to do the same thing, where I'm going to have like insight 1. And then we're going to copy this guy, and then do this, and then do this, and then do insight template. And then we're going to copy this 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And now if I go back to the let's get the bottom of this thing, ideally, I'm going to take this question and I'm going to move it just so I don't lose it if it breaks, because it might break because of the waypoint thing. I don't know if that works that way, but I'm going to put it like right here. And then we're going to go back, and then we're just going to delete this whole thing. And then we're going to hit Control P, and we're going to hit templater, insert, templater, open insert template modal. And then we're going to go to a folder note template, and everything worked except the waypoint, which I thought was going to happen. Oh, interesting. No, that does work. 1, 2, 3 insights. Yeah, no, okay, so everything works except the endpoint waypoint thing. So what we can do is just not. We could go back here, and then we can just change this to percent waypoint %, and then we can just have a note here AD, I guess like Warren or something. Add a percent sign to either side of waypoint. AD warning. Okay, so I think that that's just gonna work, right? So I'm gonna get rid of this all again, and then I'm gonna Control P templater modal, and then we're gonna do the folder note template, and then I'm gonna say that, okay, there's my question, which is empty. Then I'm gonna hit this thing, and then I'm gonna do this thing, and then it did the folder note references, which is sick. And then we're gonna go back to our daily note. We're gonna get the question that we just yeeted from the other guy, go back here, add this question here, and bam, it's done. That's crazy. All of these references. So let's say, for example, that we have another reference that we used for the templater folder, right? So we were looking like, does templater have folders? Does templater work with folders? Okay, well, this adds a a tricky little thing. But like basically what we can do here is we can go to the source, we can do this, hit Command Shift E, and then is there a function to create a folder? If it doesn't exist, we can replace the reference. Actually, I guess we don't need title because we're just replacing it with reference 1. And then I can just do this and do this, and then Command Shift N to make a new note from it. Command Shift N. And it moved it to the home folder, which is not what I wanted. I wanted to do the reference folder. But that's pretty simple to move. Right now I'm doing something similar to your folder note template, but it's pretty minimal and rough to use at the moment. I basically have a template file which creates a header for each link reference, where the header is supposed to be a title or useful descriptor, and some tags as bullets. I use tags a ton. Then I use a plugin called link headers directly to link references from related notes and other files. When it gets too clunky, I'll probably switch it up a bit. That's interesting. So you're using tags as bullet points. That's interesting. I've never really used tags as a bullet. How do you I have a template file which creates a header for each link and reference, where the header is supposed to be a title or useful descriptor. So are the titles like linking to different notes, or are they like linking to like sub tags within like a one single file? But yeah, that's like that's pretty cool. I think I want to go into the insight template. So the headers are titles for documents I'm referencing or an article on the web. Yeah. I use that a lot too. I think that I use the auto link title plugin, link headers directly. Okay, to link references from related notes to other files. That's interesting. I haven't tried the link headers direct. Do you like that plugin? Is it a good plugin? Link headers directly. Should I download it? But those headers I can use as file header from my file. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Okay, damn, I'll try that out. Let me see. Um, Link headers directly. Nothing crazy, but it works. No, I think that that's cool, and that's what I love about this space is that we are all creating our own kind of work. We all have like our own idea of kind of like what like a cool output could be, and we're all kind of like creating it in real time. And I think that that's super cool. I'm super great, happy to be a part of this space, and I'm definitely going to change this width and height to maybe like 300 by 300. What's the problem? It's too tall, maybe. I don't know. I have to increase the font somehow. Um, so the reference template doesn't need a title because that's going to be the other thing. References. So we get to the folder note, and then we get rid of this title stuff because we don't need any of this anymore. Now I'm wondering, kind of like, there should probably be a presentation. Actually, well, there should be a few things. So I think that I need splitters between these horizontal rules. Nope. Make things a little bit cleaner. And then I'm trying to think of what else. Should there be a presentation template? So actually, one thing that I did want to do is that, and tomorrow, I don't know if you know MTS Zerk in the community, but he is responsible for the creation of the advanced slides plugin. And he and I are joining forces to create tutorials for this. So I haven't actually done the tutorials yet because I want to do a good job, but I keep getting sidetracked. So actually, this might be a good chance to do one of those before I go offline, and maybe just like talk through one of those and then use what we get to put into our let's get in the bottom of this presentation. So I'm trying to think of like, let's go back to the structure folder here. I already like this. I feel like the insights references um paradigm works pretty well, because references is like, yeah, it's like external and internal is maybe another way of looking at it. But then the presentation is like what it's all funneling to, right? So like, for example, you're going to want the references that you used, the insights that you came up with, and then the major insights that you came up with, and then the presentation. So the presentation should have what exactly? What do we decide should be in here? Slideshow, drawings, and a bullet point draft. So maybe like we'll have like a folder in here for called like Excalidraw drawings, because you know how much I like my Excalidraw drawings. So we'll have our Excalidraw, then we'll have our, I don't know if we need slides to be, because like usually slides is just going to be like one slideshow. So I don't think we need that. But what we might want to do is use the advanced slides to come up with like a template for advanced slides. And then, so let's say that we have a new folder in our insight. So this is actually an interesting question. How do we handle like to-dos? Do to-dos go under the insight? Do they go under another folder? Do we like add to the structure for something that handles like to-dos? Because I'm torn. Because like if we have a to-do as a folder, so let's map this out a little bit. So maybe we can have like a slash to-dos, which will be like open tasks to be done. Does that make sense? Maybe it makes more sense if this is just to-dos.text or like markdown. So it's just the one. Because it's not like you could have multiple insights, multiple references. The presentation has slideshow and multiple drawings. So like this is going to be a drawing. Let's stick with the same format as an Excalibur drawing. And then I don't really think that the bullet point draft is really necessary because it can kind of just be in the dashboard here. But yeah, maybe there is a to-dos. Maybe we could just try that out and see how it feels. So like we create a new note here and we just call this to-dos. And then what did that do? What did that do? What did you do? So we can say that we have like Obsidian. Oh, you know what's actually interesting though too is that we can say that this is to do slash the project name. So let's get to the bottom of this. So like Obsidian slide template. Obsidian advanced slides template. And then what else do we need? Looking at this structure, we have our insights, which feels pretty good. We have our presentation, Excalibur draw folder, which feels pretty good. Maybe like note moving and management. And then in our to this thing, we should say in our folder note template, where does this go? Where do the to-dos go? Do the to-dos go at the top or do they go at the bottom? Does it matter? I think that they go at the top under the directory. So we can just call this to-dos slash project name. And then we're going to get our, oops. We're going to get a references to tasks here. And we're just going to yeet it. Thank you. And then we're going to close this guy and we're going to do this thing. And then we're going to say to do project name. Oh, wait, so we should just call this to-dos actually. And then let's add another warning so that people can edit this too. So add a prevent instead of percent. Add a percent sign. And then this is going to say change tasks below to reference the correct project name from todos.md. Okay, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to go back to see what it looks like in our folder note. So I'm going to close this and then I'm going to put it after the directory as promised. give it some space. And let's say that this is, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's get to the bottom of this. And that should just automatically load in the to-dos that we need here, which is awesome. I want to add that enter here too. Yeah, I think this is coming along really well. So then like now we have our folder note, which is what we wanted for our dashboard, right? And we have our open question that we're saying like, hey, this is the question that we're trying to solve. We have our directory, which is the, I guess we can get rid of this after we do the changes, right? Like the idea is just so that it's like done from the user. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Get rid of this. And let's say that the reference to was, what did we say that was? I only write when inspiration strikes. So we can actually just go back here and replace reference to with that. We don't have a third reference. We have our insight. Oh, now I'm noticing a problem. So like these headings are getting in the way. That's what was weird about it. I was noticing that the references and these headings didn't make sense, but now it's making sense. I actually need to go into the reference template and make these header 3s, not 4s. Because then for a new one, it'll make more sense. So even though it's a header 1 in its file, it's got to be a header 3 because it's brought into another file, with insight 2 being a header 2. What else do we need? This is looking pretty good. I'm actually quite happy with this. This is pretty much what I had in mind. You can also do new Excalibur drawings in here, which is great. So I can say like, we have a square and then we have basically, let's hit this obsidian button and then what is this? Insert markdown file from Vault. Okay. So let's go to structure. Oh, amazing. Ah, that's so cool. That's crazy. I've never really used that before. That's crazy. I didn't hit that button. Never hit that button before. But now we can do another square for Excalibur and we can just highlight it so we could see. I mean, kind of cool, kind of neat, kind of cute, kind of posh. Lower the opacity a bit around the edges. Um, yeah, no, this is great. We have our insights, we have our references, and they're all stored under this folder. We have our to-dos, note moving, and like we can use tasks too. So we can say that like this, for example, is going to be high priority. I think I want to show a local graph in this note. I don't know if there's a plugin for that. I'm gonna Google it. Show local graph in Note Obsidian. And then we're gonna do using the local graph. Oh, all I have to do is click the 3 dots in the right and click open local graph. So let's go to OXC here. Let's go down to reference 3. Let's quote this. And let's go to this sweet setup thing and say that this is our source. And then let's just, oh, right. We got to replace the title. Bam, 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 bam. This is 3. This is 3, and this is 3. Oh, I didn't mean to open it again. So if I do this and highlight this, and then hit Command Shift N, and then just move it to references. And then just do just Obsidian with our OBS plugin. Power Obsidian's local graph. Let's hit this triple dots. Let's scroll down to open local graph. Yeah, and there it is. Our local graph too is displayed. I'm going to close the left sidebar. That's not what I want. Wham bam chicken and ham. I'm going to close that. I don't really think I'm going to do anything about it. That's great. I like that structure a lot. We'll use it for some inspiration. Definitely going to be checking out locally when the graph repo updates, but I got to head out. Enjoy the stream. Tomorrow, always a pleasure. I'll see you next time. Yeah, I'm also about to head out soon too. I think that this has actually been a very productive session. So I'm feeling pretty good, and I kind of want to sit on this. So next time I'll probably be using this structure to actually kind of go over one of those questions that we were talking about. Just something fun, something cool. We probably are going to do the Obsidian Advanced Slides template and talk a little bit about like how to get that presentation set up too. And then we'll be rocking and rolling with that. So yeah, very exciting. Thank you again for stopping by. I appreciate it. Okay. So I'm going to push this to get, and then I'm probably going to get out of here too. I'm pretty tired. So I'm going to commit and push. I'm going to get my head out the way. There's a lot of images. Every time there's like images, it takes like a bit of time. Push 90 files to remote. Perfect. All right. So yeah, that's it. That's what we got. We have our new structure, which takes care of to-dos. It takes care of the insights that we have locally. We set up our presentation, which is sometimes going to be just a list of drawings and talking sometimes, and sometimes it's going to be a slideshow. It really just depends. References, which is external references that are used and quoted. So you can jump into here and you can see the quotes that you used from it. You can jump directly to the source with this as well. We also have a to-dos, which shows us the things that we need to do to like open questions or whatever. This looks pretty good. I like this a lot. And then we have insights here. So let's say that we actually are going to replace this with structure, because that's our first insight. So yeah, this was a very productive stream. I'm happy that I went live because I was thinking that I wasn't going to go live, and I was really stressing this out, but I had a lot of fun, and this is cool. So I'm going to head out. Sevens. I have like a stream song that I was going to play on my way out, but I don't know where it is. So I'll have to set that up in OBS another time. But sevens, thanks for coming by, and have a lovely evening. Bye.